We have literally had now years of speculation around what GPT-5 will actually be, to say nothing of when it's coming. But OpenAI has decided to be more transparent and has told us exactly what's coming up and coming down the line. And what they told us has fairly big implications for how labs are thinking on a fundamental level about the nature of models. All right, friends. For basically the entirety of 2024, one of the big questions was, when are we getting GPT-5? Or at least GPT-4.5. When ChatGPT first launched in November of 22, it was only a few months before we got GPT-4, and then for the entirety of 2023, GPT-4 was solo out in front of everyone else, and most people kind of anticipated that as the rest of the world caught up with GPT-4 at the beginning of 2024, that OpenAI would once again zoom ahead with GPT-5 or at least GPT-4.5. That of course never happened. And instead, what we got towards the end of the year was an actually different approach to models, which OpenAI called reasoning models. We got the earliest versions of O1, and OpenAI started to indicate in places like Reddit AMAs that they were really going to be doubling down on reasoning models as the go-forward approach. Now, throughout all of this, we've gotten a million different names: GPT-4.5, GPT-5, Orion, O1, and it appears as though Altman and OpenAI have decided that enough is enough in terms of the complexity and confusion, and they want to just actually be transparent about where things are headed. On Wednesday of this week, Altman took to X to write, "We want to do a better job of sharing our intended roadmap and a much better job simplifying our product offerings. We want AI to just work for you. We realize how complicated our model and product offerings have gotten. We hate the model picker as much as you do and want to return to magic unified intelligence." As a quick aside, the model picker is this thing at the top, which now has GPT-4o, GPT-4o with scheduled tasks, O1, O3 Mini, O3 Mini High, O1 Pro Mode, GPT-4o Mini, and GPT-4. Coming back to Sam, he writes, "We will next ship GPT-4.5, the model we call Orion internally, as our last non-chain of thought model. In other words, as our last non-reasoning model. After that, a top goal for us is to unify O-series models and GPT-series models by creating systems that can use all our tools, know when to think for a long time or not, and generally be useful for a very wide range of tasks. In both ChatGPT and our API, we will release GPT-5 as a system that integrates a lot of our technology, including O3. We will no longer ship O3 as a standalone model. The free tier of ChatGPT will get unlimited chat access to GPT-5 at the standard intelligence setting, plus subscribers will be able to run GPT-5 at a higher level of intelligence, and pro subscribers will be able to run GPT-5 at an even higher level of intelligence. These models will incorporate voice, canvas search, deep research, and more." All right, so that is the specific update. One of the first responses was perhaps a tongue-in-cheek joke about how this didn't necessarily super clear things up. Bloomberg's Joe Weisenthal wrote, "OpenAI knows its model offerings are confusing to people. Going forward, OpenAI is simplifying it by replacing GPT-4 with GPT-4.5 Orion final non-chain of thought, and then GPT-5 including O3 at standard plus pro intelligence tiers featuring voice, canvas search, and deep research." Still, there are a couple of really big things here. First of all, the fact that we're finally getting GPT-4.5 in what it appears like a matter of weeks is something that people are really looking forward to. Yes, the reasoning models have opened up new capabilities, but there are a lot of things that the non-reasoning models are still better for, but that people still want to see performance gains in. Also, when it comes to this idea of the model picker being a bad user experience and wanting to simplify that, I think this is sort of self-evidently true, in that even for someone who's super up on this, having to pick between these different models for every different task is not necessarily a great experience, although it does give you a lot of pinpoint flexibility and the ability to test different models against different prompts. But the move to simplification also reflects, I think, where ChatGPT sits in terms of its mainstream appeal. ChatGPT is now something like the 6th most trafficked website in the US. It is a major consumer product, not just an enterprise product. It has that Kleenex sort of brand where for many people, AI is literally just ChatGPT. That's what they refer to AI as. This push for simplification suggests that that is an audience that they really want to make sure has the ability to wrap their head around and get the most out of these core tools. This, I think, is validated by the fact that all levels of subscribers are going to have some access to the most advanced models, not just the people who are paying. You got to think that the just work idea also had something to do with the release of DeepSeek, whose app, including the transparency of how it was coming to the conclusions that it was coming to, became super popular, even displacing ChatGPT from the App Store rankings. Remember, with the DeepSeek app, users were presented with a single powerful reasoning model that wildly outperformed what they were used to in their experience with the free tier of ChatGPT. Moving to the technical side of things, though, I think strategically there's something really interesting about this, even though I don't think that the move comes out of left field. When O1 was first introduced, It was very clearly presented as a separate branch of AI models. This was not GPT 4.5, it was something that was different. The intention, at least at that time, appeared to be to continue to develop along both branches simultaneously. Now, for those who were watching closely, it wasn't long before that seemed to be moving in a different direction, with, like I said, Reddit AMAs seeming to suggest that the company was much more focused on the reasoning models than they were on the previous approaches. And of course, lurking behind all of this is this question of whether pre-training in general as a scaling strategy has hit a wall. Google's Gemini 2.0 Pro is the only flagship LLM to be released without reasoning in the past few months, and it doesn't show a step change in performance. GPT 4.5 or xAI's Grok 3 might prove the thesis wrong, but it may be that these labs are just deciding that they're coming up against the ends of their ability to scale pre-training. That leaves these reasoning models or test time compute models as the new big scaling vector for model improvement moving forward. And again, for those watching closely, they've already dabbled with the idea of giving different tiers of subscribers different level of test time compute and hence different levels of model performance. Specifically, O3 Mini has low, medium, and high intelligence settings corresponding to longer inference time. One of the questions for many people is the integration of the experience. In discussing the idea that GPT-5 is going to be a unified model, friend of the show Swix asked OpenAI's Kevin Weil, in GPT-5, are GPT and O still separate models under the hood, and you're making a model router, or are they going to be unified in some more substantive way? Kevin responded, unified. This is exactly what Swix had been hoping to see. He said, I felt that the worst timeline was the one that others appear to be going towards, which is train different models and have a model router to create a semblance of AGI-ness. GPT-5 seems to be doing O5 plus GPT-5 merge right, not just simple router of reasoner versus non-reasoner. This is exciting architecture work if more details are to be published. There are also some really interesting technical challenges here. Automatically selecting the best inference time for a given query, rather than leaving that choice to the user, is something that's going to take some design. Meta recently produced some academic work on the subject, although even that seems quite preliminary. Now, there also seems here to be a shift in the philosophy of the availability of models for OpenAI. Once again, it feels like reflecting pressure from, among others, deep research. Up until very recently, the latest models had been mostly gated behind subscriptions. Indeed, for some of their real high-end features like deep research, these things were even gated to the $200 per month Pro tier. Responding to someone saying that deep research is worth $1,000 a month to them, Altman commented yesterday, I think we are going to initially offer 10 uses per month for ChatGPT Plus and 2 per month for the free tier, with the intent to scale these up over time. It probably is worth $1,000 a month to some users, but I'm excited to see what everyone does with it. Basically, it seems to suggest that going forward, the company is going to try to endeavor where at least even a little bit financially reasonable to give everyone access to the most advanced intelligence, even if not all that much of it. Some people love the mood. Google AI Studios product lead Logan Kilpatrick wrote, this has always been our plan with Gemini. Make sure the reasoning capabilities are part of the base model, not a side quest, hence doing 2.0 flash thinking. However, Garrett of DeepWriter AI wrote, as a developer building with both of your models, I can assure you that the reasoning models are the specialty and the general models are much more useful. I can do far more with general models like 4.0 or Gemini 2.0 than with reasoning models which are largely redundant with my internal app chain of thought. I need large general models that can take in massive context with total accuracy. Presumably getting GPT-5's integration right means actually being able to speak to both of these use cases, but it does reflect the concern of prioritization of the reasoning models over everything else. And yet that clearly feels like what's happening. Professor Ethan Malik writes, seems like increasing evidence that LLMs that are not reasoners are going to fade away. There's the explicit announcement from OpenAI, the academic studies on the topic, the fact that Gemini 2.0 Pro and apparently Grok 3 seem to be outclassed by their reasoning AI cousins, etc. To anyone who isn't following closely, this doesn't matter. They will just know AI gets better. So that is the update we got. Interesting and exciting stuff. Like I said, I am among those people who is super excited to get the actual GPT 4.5 and see how it improves the capabilities around a lot of the day in, day out use cases that we have that don't require that reasoning approach. And of course, as soon as it is available, we will get in there, test it, and share what we find with you. For now, though, that is going to do it for today's AI Daily Brief. Appreciate you listening or watching as always. And until next time, peace